Everyone, welcome to Bible Bites. Glad to have you with us once again. Our question for today is probably a question that not many believers have ever heard. What are blue laws? And further, what is a biblical view of blue laws? Well, in many ways, this topic follows on from our previous one where we talked about working on Sundays. So this topic, blue laws, are laws pertaining to the regulation of work, commerce, or entertainment on Sundays. Now, blue laws originated in Puritan England, or Puritan New England, as it was known back then, which is probably why a lot of people haven't heard of it. And it was a way to regulate morals and protect Sunday as a day of rest and worship. Now, why the word blue was used is unclear, but it could stem from an 18th century usage of blue, which meant rigidly moral. But in the strictest communities, blue laws forbade any buying, any selling, travelling, sports or regular work on Sundays. And though greatly lessened in severity, blue laws continue to some degree in the 21st century by restricting of the selling of cars or alcohol on Sundays. Now, blue laws were an attempt to honour the fourth commandment, which instructed the Jews to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, Exodus 20 verse 8. Now we know from the biblical record that God's law for his people included rest on the seventh day as part of his covenant with them. You can read that in Exodus 31 verse 13. However, the Old Testament Jewish Sabbath is not the same as the New Testament worship on Sunday. Many people confuse the two. You've got to separate them. They are distinct. And although the motivation for blue laws may have been honourable, it was in fact misguided. Christians are not commanded to keep the Old Testament law as part of following God, as were the Israelites before Jesus established the new covenant. While it is good to follow God's pattern of setting aside a day of rest and worship and reflection, it is not required under the new covenant. Nowhere does the Bible command non-Jewish nations to legislate this practice given only to the Jews. Now, we must remember that God's civil law was given to a nation as part of their operation as a theocracy. That means with God as their king. But no nation since that time has been decreed by God to be a theocracy. Therefore, any attempts by a nation to apply the Israelite law of Moses fall far short. You see, that nation, if they were to do so, would have to impose all 613 ceremonial, sacrificial and civil laws in order to be pleasing to God. And the Jewish failures show that to be impossible. Jesus came to fulfill the law for us so that we could walk in grace and liberty. See, blue laws were intended to show reverence to God by limiting regular commerce and encouraging worship. Now, though perhaps misguided in their zeal, the Puritan leaders were attempting to establish a society where God was publicly honoured. We are not bound by the law of Moses as it pertains to government and civil structure, but we are wise to study and draw application, of course, from all of God's law. And in our fast-paced world, it is wise, very wise, to set aside time, to slow down, to recoup, to rest. And blue laws, to some degree, helped protect workers and forced everyone to recharge before plunging into the next week. And in that sense, blue laws, of course, were a good idea. But one reason that blue laws ultimately fail is that worship cannot be legislated. Efforts to enforce religious practice in a secular society result in just an empty show of religion at best. Blue laws were an attempt to be blessed as a nation whose God is the Lord, as Psalm 33:12 says. But they could do nothing to touch the hearts of the people. And remember, it is the heart that God desires, not some outward empty show of worship. And so public policies such as blue laws don't create worshipful hearts, just as prohibition didn't create voluntary sobriety. So a society has the right to institute any policy it deems to be in the best interests of its people, and blue laws may fit that description. Setting aside a day when people can go to church and spend time with family is, of course, healthy for societies. But if enforced in a way as legislating spirituality, then blue laws fall far short.